Today on the podcast, we are going to talk about normalising. 4 areas that I feel no one really talks about, whether it's on your fat loss journey, transformation journey, or just the journey of life. Ladies, welcome back to another episode. This is a Monday short, so I shall get straight in. This actually came to me earlier in the week when I woke up and I was just feeling a bit flat upon waking, as I sometimes do. We're going to talk about normalising that. So I'm driving back from the school drop-off with the kids, and I'm quite okay. I can sit in that feeling now because, it crops up from now and then. I'm a hormonal being. Especially us women, we're going to experience these highs and lows. And it just prompted today's podcast because as a coach, I see in check-ins, especially when you first sign up to maybe a new program, or you're really striving for fat loss, or maybe, as always, we're seeing things on social media that are showing a different story to what is reality. We question ourselves if we find ourselves waking up in a funk, feeling a little bit flat, not doing all of the things. And I feel like we should normalise a little more of the nuanced day-to-day feelings, emotions that a lot of us go through, and we're questioning it. I'm also aware that I normalise or talk about normalising all of the time. Normalise working out, normalise reducing alcohol, normalise going to the buffet and just eating one plate of food, normalise saying no when you mean no, normalise doing the thing even when you don't feel like doing the thing, because that is a standard that you've set for yourself. All of these healthy habits, ladies, the healthy mindset, the healthy way of speaking to ourselves, we want to normalise that. But we also need to normalise these next 4. And the first one is simply waking of a morning and sometimes feeling a little flat. I think the world, that's probably a bit extreme, depending on who you follow. I always talk about depending on who you follow. Let me caveat that. This is because a lot of our internal talk and a lot of what we've normalised is based on what we see, what we hear, what we read, what we consume, what we take in. And I think there's this narrative, isn't there, that we want to strive for PMA and positive mental attitudes at all times. And I probably am one of those people who really advocates for this. But I can genuinely tell you, in normalising these next couple of points that I'm going to point out, it has actually allowed me to roll with more of a positive attitude more often than not. I find the extremes a lot less because I am normalising. Some mornings you're going to wake up and you're going to feel a little flat. Now, we can deep dive into the reasons why. Yes, it might be an overproduction of cortisol. It might be around menstrual cycle. Myself on that drive the other morning, so I do overanalyze, or maybe I like to analyze why things have changed. Same way if I'm feeling a little anxious or temperamental, or maybe I've noticed physical changes, whatever it is, I will always try to consider what has changed. That's just part of staying in control, ladies. And as I was thinking, as I was driving, I recognised that the night before, hubby had been away working, and so I had my phone up the stairs, which is non-negotiable for me. The phone doesn't go up to the stairs, up to the bedroom, of a night. Brought that into play. You've heard me talk about this on the podcast probably 18 months ago now. But we do normally always have one phone upstairs, which is the hubby's. And it's wild, isn't it? But in case of emergencies, or in case somebody needed to get hold of you in the middle of the night, which, God forbid, what did we do back in the day? So anyway, long story short, took my phone up, and obviously what did I do? I sat and scrolled until late. I sat on my phone later than I would normally. I woke up the next morning and just felt really flat. And I know that it's because of screen time consumption before bed. I just know the way it interferes. I just didn't give myself the chance that I have been doing to switch off and just allow my brain to rest and just be open to allow my mind to wander. We don't even consider how important it is to just let your mind wander from time to time, ladies. So I try to do this of an evening, which is normally when my hubby gets absolute brain vomit of everything that I'm wandering through in my mind, and I'm asking him questions and I'm reminding him of things and I'm talking about one thing and another. But I hadn't done that. Woke up feeling quite flat. I think we need to normalise this from time to time. Now, here's the caveat. If you know that you've sat scrolling the night before and that's why you've woken up flat, well, we can pattern interrupt that, because we don't want to feel flat of a morning. But I think we need to get past this constant need to be firing on all cylinders. And instead, we need to better understand how to take care of ourselves when we feel this way. So what do we need to do differently? How can we care for ourselves either better or differently until we get over this feeling? Because it will lift. Hormones, particularly your serotonin hormone, which is your happy hormone, ladies, will peak and trough. But the expectation that we are going to wake up firing off all cylinders every single day is not to be normalised. That is an unrealistic expectation. Some of the things that I like to do, if I'm not feeling all bells and whistles, and you will have seen this, or if you're inside of our community, I'm often posting links of, or sharing links of like, ladies, I'm just listening to this whilst I'm potting around the kitchen, or this is what I played in the car this morning, or always sharing little insights. But I will just listen to something, whether it's affirmations or mindset or motivation or something that just focuses that side of my brain and kicks off that pattern and that way of thinking. Often it's just perspective, isn't it? You know, feeling flat of a morning can, or at any time in the day, can then often lead to a certain narrative when it comes to self-talk, whether it's worry or anxiety or feelings of not enough, or it can just spiral easily. So even just bringing it back to gratitude, or, you know, getting the morning sunlight, actually just going outside, no devices, and looking into the sky. Like, there are so many natural, free remedies that can help turn things around, especially if we're not feeling 100% when we wake and we don't take advantage of them. So there's a couple of mine. But most importantly, just giving yourself some grace. Just give yourself some grace and normalise it. Next time you catch yourself waking up and overthinking, I want you to just, instead of beating yourself up or feeling like, oh, today is going to be a complete write-off, why have I woken up in such a funk? Like, don't allow yourself to spiral. It's a moment in time. This is the point in time that we just need to show ourselves a little bit more grace and just normalise, okay, this is normal. I'm a woman. I'm hormonal. I've even got some clients who like to tell me that this is in line with the moon, and I'm not really up to speed on, would that even be classed as astrology? I don't think it is. I don't know. I like to listen in on these conversations about the moon and everything else, but I'm not really clued up to talk on it. But, you know, I suppose it's just another way to normalise that if you do believe in that and you do believe in the whole moon cycle, then it is completely normal that we are going to have ebbs and flows during the months. Number two, things that we need to normalise is sometimes you will feel a little stressed and anxious. There's such a parody now, isn't there? Because stress and anxiety and depression and some of the more spoken about mental health topics, they are so mainstream now. They are very brought to the surface that if we feel the feelings of any of them, we start to panic. Like, we don't want to feel anxious. We don't want to feel stressed under any circumstances. But I think it's quite normal to feel that way from time to time, ladies. I've spoken about this maybe inside of our community, because normally with me, if it's anything to do with the kids, that will just kick off a feeling of feeling just a little anxious. And I know what it is. It's if I can't control the outcome. Obviously, when it comes to your kiddos, you want to be the protector and you want to be able to help and solve every problem. And if, for example, it was an illness or anything really, that for me is my trigger. And I know that. And also stress, you know, feeling stressed from time to time is not inherently bad. Like, do we want to carry these prolonged feelings of constantly feeling stressed, constantly feeling burnt out and exhausted? No, we do not want to normalise that. But will it creep in from time to time? Will there be certain days in your working month when you feel more stressed than others? Yeah. That's probably normal for the majority of women now, whether it's the workload, whether it is demands have increased, whether it's an important deadline, whether it's a big meeting. There are going to be times when we're under stress. And this is where I'll bring it back to the thriving lifestyle, because if you are leading a thriving lifestyle, your resilience and your ability to manage stress, it's not going to remove the stress. We can't physically take control of everything that comes into our environment, but we can manage that stress with more resilience without the default behaviour then having to be, oh, I need to eat a bar of chocolate, oh, I need to have a bottle of wine. That's the stuff we want to normalise. We want to normalise managing our stress, but we also have to normalise that stress is going to come and go. And so rather than look at ourselves, so like, what have we done wrong? Why can't we manage this? Why are we feeling this way? Why can't I just be the calm, controlled one that can take everything in my stride? Some women can. Probably more so men when it comes to staying regulated and managing stress. But we have to normalise that it is going to creep in from time to time, ladies. And I've got to say on that point, so I was listening to a podcast, I'm sure it was a podcast ages ago, and it was, do you remember Spencer Matthews? So he's been on various different things, but he now, I don't see him on social media or anything, it was just this podcast that I was listening to. And I think it was a longevity podcast, and he now does all of these like ultra marathons. And if you don't know who he is, he was on Made in Chelsea, and then he's been on a couple of other different reality things, I think. Anyway, he was saying that he wears maybe a Whoop or maybe an Oura ring, and he has days when he experiences zero stress, which is my mind blown. So like his strain, if you have a Whoop, ladies, or you have anything similar, then you'll know that your strain is normally measured on these things. And he was talking about his strain is just often zero. And that's not now because of his healthy lifestyle. That's, well, in recent years has always been the case. And I thought it was so interesting because, and I think that this is, I won't go into the science on it, but genetically as women, we are more heightened to feelings of stress and anxiety. And I don't know why that is. And that's not me completely categorising everyone. I'm sure there's men who also go through feeling this way. Of course they do. But generally, as a population, men versus women, we feel it. We're a little more sensitive when it comes to feeling stress and anxiety. Now, for me, and inside of Thriving Women, the first thing that we want to do is we want to understand how to best manage this feeling, because this is all internal, ladies, okay? It's a natural response from the body, which usually causes a dysregulation of hormones. So we know the adrenaline hormone spikes up. We just want to better understand how to manage that. So I've got one client who, often for her, it'll be a stressful meeting in work that triggers these feelings before us working together. That would then knock on to a trip to the vending machine. She will now go and get some fresh air, whether it's a 10-minute walk or whether it is literally just taking herself to the exit in work and enabling herself to get some fresh air. But we take ownership for managing our stress. This is not something that we want to get out of control. I'm talking about normalising it so that we don't panic. But we also have to then normalise how to get in the driver's seat. Like, we are thriving women. Are we going to allow feelings of, whether it's waking up feeling flat, feeling stressed, feeling a little anxious, are we going to allow that to dominate and interfere and disrupt all of our great habits, all of our behaviours, our self-talk? No, we're not. We're absolutely going to get better at taking care of ourselves in these moments and understanding how to turn this around. One of the best ways is exercise. Now, it's not always going to be on hand the moment that you feel stressed, but generally, if you are in a good routine and habit of lifting weights 3 to 4 times a week, 3 would be great. Like, we don't need to go crazy, but 3 times a week, you are in that process building a more resilient, capable body. We don't really think about it from the perspective of improving our mental health, improving our emotional well-being. But lifting weights, building lean muscle and exercising regularly supports the full ecosystem, ladies. So you're just better able to, first of all, manage stress and anxiety, but also it becomes quickly apparent that getting in and getting the exercise is so much more a better remedy than the glass of wine or any other self-sabotaging habits that we may have relied upon previously. So we're going to normalise feeling that way from time to time, but we also want to normalise giving ourselves grace and understanding how to get back in the driver's seat. And this will always all come hand in hand, because when we normalise getting the steps, when we normalise drinking the water, when we normalise eating a certain way, we then normalise better taking care of ourselves when we're under pressure. Okay, number 3, and I think this is really normal, and it actually hacks into the minds of so many women, and they start to question, is this normal? Am I cut out for this? I knew I wouldn't be able to do this. I'm never going to transform. I'm never going to be that woman who loves the healthier way of living. And that is, we need to normalise feeling like we just need a day off, because it is completely normal to wake in the morning and just feel like I need a day off from thinking about my calories and my steps and all of my healthy habits and my non-negotiables. And because, ladies, I'm going to say something now which is not spoken about enough, but it requires effort. Either way, whether you choose to live healthy or unhealthy, either way requires effort on some level. It's just a different type of outcome on the other side. Yes, okay, to live unhealthy doesn't require effort in terms of it won't require effort in terms of the way that you show up for yourself because you're choosing not to show up for yourself. But when that bites you in the butt and you've got to make effort in other ways, like you have to do 10 different orders online because nothing fits and you've got to send it all back. You've got to go to the effort of getting your makeup done and your hair done a certain way, and all of the exterior needs to be above and beyond because the way that you feel inside is not great right now. So like we have to make it, like there's always effort to be made in different areas. It's whichever you choose to invest your time in, and it takes effort to show up for yourself and lead a healthy lifestyle. I live by my non-negotiables. They very much became part of who I am now. Like they are my identity. Nick is the girl who you will always see me with water in hand. You are always going to see me on stories showing up in the gym. You're always going to see me looking for the protein option on the menu. It's part of who I am. It's normal. But do I sometimes just want to have a complete day off? Yeah, sometimes I do. Sometimes I just want to go up to the cafe or wherever. I say go up because we live not too far from a lovely village that does delicious pastries in the cafe. And sometimes I just want to go to the cafe, get a coffee, have a pastry, come back, watch movies, and just not overthink it. Now, I've got to say here, that doesn't mean that I want to come back and eat pizza and eat junk. I've said this in previous podcasts, ladies. Your taste buds, your wants, your desires, your cravings will change over time. You transform your habits and behaviours if you are willing to invest time, energy, and effort into the first, I would say genuinely the first 8 to 12 weeks of any transformation. You will see the impact of that longer term. It will change the way that you show up for life if you do it well. And I stand behind that. Like you will just find yourself making better decisions as a byproduct of you now understand what it feels like to have good energy and to not overthink every mouthful of food and to reach the point of satiation so you're not constantly craving and you're not in that, you're in that cycle of trying to be good versus then binging on all of the stuff that you've been holding back from. Like we can get out of that cycle, but feeling like you need a day off it's normally mentally more than anything, to be quite honest. And from time to time, I will say to clients, this is your goal this weekend. I want you to take your watch off. I don't want you to overthink your steps. I don't want you to be overthinking tracking every morsel of food. I just want to make sure that your plate looks a certain way. We've got micronutrients included in the day. You're still going to be fruit. You're still going to get your veggies in. But we're actually going to just have a day at ease. Now, I will say at this point, if you are inside of that first 8 to 12 weeks, this is where having a plan, having your non-negotiables, having some structure it's instrumental to you being able to stay the course. Because when you feel like having a day off, unless you've established good habits, behaviours and routines, that day off could easily turn into 2 days, 3 days and having a week off. And this is why so many women struggle with yo-yo, because there was no structure in the first place. So there's a difference between you are very consistent day in and day out. But sometimes when life just happens, this is real talk, ladies. This is like the nuanced stuff. Sometimes life just happens. You find yourself, you're burning the candle at both ends, or maybe there's just more on the schedule than normal, or your bandwidth just has been stretched because fill in the blank. It could be a million and one reasons. You've been caring for your elderly parents whilst also caring for your young children, whilst navigating work and managing your own fitness and getting the food shop, and like, the list is endless. And sometimes we just need a bit of a day off for ourselves. What I will always encourage my clients is to spend these days mindfully and wisely. And what I mean by that is, do not spend that day beating yourself up, feeling like you failed because you're not doing all of the things. If you're going to embrace, do you know what, I just need a day where I don't feel so overwhelmed. I still want you to eat in a way that is nourishing for your body. I still want you to move and get some vitamin D, but maybe we go for a walk with friends and we just appreciate the fact that we're out in nature and we're not really looking at the amount of steps that we've got. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Or maybe we give ourselves permission to leave all of the jobs in the house and just sit and watch a movie with the kids. Or maybe, like in my case, sometimes I will go to a gym class instead of going through my normal routine, because it's just a day of doing things a bit differently. And so I have got to make that point, because it's not a day off as in, do you know what, I am just going to sabotage till the cows come home. I promise you, You come and work inside of thriving women, you won't want to do that. You won't want to do it. This is not like I must hold myself to a certain standard until I reach the pinnacle of my goal or until I drop all of the weight. It's not that. It's an evolution of yourself. I said this on last week's podcast, but it's a vision for how you want to live, and constantly pushing ourselves to go harder and harder and harder at all times, and then punishing ourselves when we feel like we need to pull back a little bit. It's counterproductive. That's not caring for ourselves. That's not thriving. The whole point of thriving, ladies, is that we are so dialed in with what it takes to truly take care of ourselves, and we're willing to adapt. Now, if you feel like you need to take a day off every week, something that you're doing is disconnected, something is not working. This feeling is time to time. If you feel like you need to take a day off and it happens to be over weekend, well, my pushback on that would be, that's completely normal, but we need to still have a structure for a weekend. So it doesn't feel like a day off. It just feels like, of a weekend, this is the strategy versus Monday to Friday, this is the strategy. But I will say having accountability, support, education on this area, and having a program will really hold you up, because as much as I'm speaking about the days where maybe you take your watch off and you enjoy the walk for the sake of it, there will also be times when you feel like having a day off, but the goal is impending, or we're still inside of the first 8 weeks, or the holiday is 4 weeks away, or the wedding is 2 months away, or whatever it is that we're working towards. I feel like having a day off and it's Wednesday, but I know Saturday I'm out at the fun fair with the kids all day. So Wednesday's not a day for taking a day off. Wednesday's a day for just buckling down, follow the plan. So I think it's weighing up the course of the week and how frequently and often you're feeling like this. If you're feeling like this too often, maybe there's something else going on. Maybe there's a misalignment between what you're striving for versus your reason why. But either way, not to confuse with that one, having a program and a structure in place will give you the backbone, so that if, for example, it's the first 8 weeks, okay, first 8 weeks in working together, and or of any journey, ladies, you might be quitting smoking, quitting vaping, reducing your alcohol midweek. It can be any journey. It doesn't necessarily have to be working inside of Time to Thrive. But the amount of times, let's use quitting smoking as an example, or maybe reducing alcohol. There will be times inside of those first couple of weeks where you feel like you want to cave. It's natural inside of the first stage of any journey. It's natural inside of that first stage for those wants to be more heightened. And then obviously the more that we practice showing up and doing the thing the way that we said that we would, the less we feel that way. Now, this is why once you are in it, and I know a lot of the women who listen to this podcast, you've already got skin in the game. You already train, eat well, take care of your mental, physical and emotional health. Did I just say mental? Okay, I just made up a word, but I absolutely love it. Mental and physical, mental health. Might have to trademark that. Anyway, you're already doing all of those things. So giving yourself a little bit of leeway from time to time, I think we need to normalise, ladies. And the last one, the final one that I want to touch on, is that I would say it's quite normal to feel alone at times on this journey. And that's not the nicest one to embrace. We actually had a community call before I jumped on to record this podcast. So this is once a week. We just do like an open office. So if you're about and you can, you jump on the call. If you've got any questions that you want to ask, we answer them on the call. But generally, it's an opportunity for us all to see each other in person once a week. And you know, the mad thing is that it always feels hard to make time for community, or maybe for the things that feel indulgent. Okay, it feels indulgent because it's part of our health and fitness journey. Always feel amazing afterwards. You always feel great afterwards just to have had conversation with like-minded women. And I know that that term is overused, like-minded women, but it really is. It's like, so we've just been on a call before recording this, and it's like we're all nodding along at what each other's saying, because everybody on the call relates, because we've all got a shared common goal, which is to thrive. But we've also all got very common struggles, whether it's our hobbies are working away, or we're struggling to get our steps, or we're on our menstrual cycle and we're craving chocolate, or our babies are waking up in the night. That's not the stage I'm at the moment. But I've been there and I can relate. So whilst I will normalise feeling alone from time to time, there is a lot to be said about being part of a community and just having that support around you. And I think if you're inside of Time to Thrive and you might be listening to this and you are yet to show up to, or maybe you're not able to show up to any of the community calls, or you don't interact as much as maybe you want to, but like there's always that underlying, I'll just observe from afar. Get involved. Get involved, because honestly, the instant that you do, you will feel at ease. Because feeling on your own is quite a tough loop to break, isn't it? Because then you become used to either staying in that cycle, like it feels as though you're the only one having these thoughts, you're the only one having these struggles, you're the only one feeling this way. But on the call earlier, we were talking about how important it is to normalise going to the social occasion, going to the work conference, wherever it might be, and talking openly about how hard it is to stay on track. Right? I'm not encouraging that you have to go to the social occasion and declare that you're now on this big health kick and you're not drinking tonight and I'm not eating this way. And like, there's not many women who are going to show up with that energy. That's not for everyone. I totally get that. But could you show up with the energy of, is anybody else trying their very hardest right now to reduce alcohol? And then we come on a night out and it's a bottomless dinner or brunch or whatever. Likewise, I'd said to a client who is going on a girls' trip and everyone's bringing a different meal, as they do. And she said, it's just going to be so hard to navigate because I just know the majority of the food's going to be beige. And I was like, you need to have that conversation. And maybe you do it in a really light-hearted way, but you need to break this barrier, because I wouldn't be surprised if all of the other women who are going to show up on this weekend are all feeling the same in their own minds. So maybe you just put into the group chat, ladies, is anyone else really trying to kick arse right now on health and fitness goals? Because I am, and I don't want to be a stick in the mud, but would anybody be up for doing this at the weekend? Or does anyone mind if I bring this as a food option? Or like, just have the conversation. Then when you get on the girls' trip, guess what? You find that there's 2 or 3 people inside of the group who also totally relate to where you're at. And before you know it, you have found your people, because when you're struggling on your own and you're in your own bubble, you're never going to know what's on. There's always got to be one person to break the mold. I always say this to clients, is that be willing to be the first, take the lead, be the first one in the friendship group to suggest going for a walk instead of going for a bottle of wine. Be the first in the friendship group to suggest going out for lunch instead of having a late night and disrupting your sleep pattern. Be the first in the group to suggest bringing in some accountability and doing a step count challenge between yourselves, or encouraging them to go to the gym with you. Or like, there's always got to be someone in the group that creates change. And just because you haven't identified as that woman up until this point, like, we fear the judgment of others, don't we? Like, who is she trying to be all healthy? Like, she's normally the one who goes the chippy after the night out or whatever it is. This is life. We are meant to transform, evolve, grow. We're not meant to walk day in and day out in the exact same identity. We're meant to evolve. And so try to lose that fear of judgment and instead embrace being the first, because if you're feeling lonely on the journey, it's important that we at some point get around more like-minded people. Otherwise, what will happen is you will always go back to people pleasing. And you know that when you say yes to everybody else, but you're saying no to yourself, you will find yourself constantly in that cycle. So we're going out for dinner, we're going on the girls' trip, we're going on the weekend away, we're doing all of these things. None of what we're doing aligns with my healthier self, but I'm too scared to show up as my healthier self. So I just need to go along with the plan of what suits everyone else. So therefore, whenever I do any of these plans, I'm going to be off track. I'm going to be overeating. I'm going to be moving less, and I'm generally not going to be living by my new standards. Like, we need to break that cycle somewhere. But to come back to maybe what we want to normalise also is just feeling maybe not alone is the right word, but embracing that this is a lot in part a solo journey. If you are really wanting to transform habits, behaviours, the way that you live, the way that you show up, your strength, your fitness, your endurance, everything, Like, we want to raise the bar in every area. There are going to be times when you've just got to knuckle down, because we can't expect everyone around us to get it. They don't have to. We also can't expect them to be on the same trajectory as us. Like, I've got friends who are very much into health and fitness, and we still don't always completely align. There's still times when I've got to lean into just cracking down. I've had one of my really good friends who is my gym buddy sidekick. She's been on the podcast previously, Katie, and we haven't trained together in weeks because our training goals right now are not aligned. She really wants to pick up running. I really, really want to focus on building strengths. So we'll catch up and we'll make sure that our training sessions cross over when we can. But I am willing to do my own thing and feel a bit lonely doing it, because I'm very crystal clear on where I want to get to. And you've got to be willing to do that. But let's normalise it, because we can't always be part of the old gang that we've always been part of, so to speak, and carry those old habits, behaviours and patterns and evolve at the same time. The transition between the two is going to involve periods of feeling like you're doing it on your own. And it might be as simple as your hubby gets a takeaway and you don't. And I've had clients say this to me in the past. And even something so simple as that can feel lonely. But normally my response on that one is, it's how we internalise any given scenario. Because it's not lonely, it's just choosing differently and being happy and being okay with those choices and those decisions. So I'm choosing to go out and get the walk whilst hubby and the kids are sitting at home watching a movie. And yeah, might feel a little bit lonely doing that, but I know what I'm doing it for. I know the greater purpose. I know why I need to do it. I know the benefits I'm going to get from it. So we can internalise it and go on that walk and feel lonely the whole way. Or we can thank ourselves and we can understand that this is just part of the process for me. And actually embracing our own company. I think there's a lot of research and probably different podcasts and one thing and another on this specific topic. There's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely, and a lot of it is how we internalise it. But I think sometimes embracing being alone and doing things for ourselves and staying in our own lane can actually lead to such resilience and can be so character building. But will it creep in from time to time? Bottom line, yes it will. So let's normalise it, ladies. As always on the podcast, it really comes down to removing overwhelm, removing unrealistic expectations and tuning in to what it truly means to thrive, ladies. So yes, we're going to normalise all the good stuff, but please, my thriving women who you are trying to do all of the things, you are spinning all of the plates, you are trying your hardest to transform on every level, but you are beating yourself up every time you wake up feeling flat. Whenever the slightest bit of stress creeps in, if ever that feeling kicks in where you feel like you need the day off or you feel a bit alone on the journey, please know that all of these feelings are normal. It's all normal. We are feeling human beings. We live in our feelings. And yes, if we are taking care of our nutrition, if we are taking care of our fitness, if we're taking care of our mindset, we're managing our stress levels and we're focused on our sleep, which are the 5 pillars inside of thriving women. If we are doing all of those, will we feel more aligned, more positive, more happy, more confident, more energized, more of the time? Yeah, we will. But that's not to say that some of these other feelings are not going to creep in from time to time. So the next time that you find yourself waking in a funk or feeling flat or knowing that you've just got to crack on even though you feel like you really just want to take that day off, embrace it. Flip the narrative. Tune in to your thriving woman mindset. Put this podcast on. Maybe you want to save it for future reference. And know that, okay, I'm not broken. There's not more to this than meets the eye. This is just a very normal part of it. And I can either choose to make a mountain out of this, or it can be a small molehill in my day. And I'm going to get out the other side and turn this feeling on its head, because that is what will happen. Ladies, I hope that you've enjoyed this episode of the podcast. As always, I would love to know if any of these have resonated with you. Do you feel any of these more often than not? Let me know. Fire me a comment below. Drop me an email at the Nicola Graham Podcast. Or as always, drop me a DM over on Instagram or any of the other platforms. And if feeling like you have no structure right now, if feeling like you need that support, you need that accountability, you need that like-minded community is really the sticking point for you, please send me a message. Please come join us inside of Time to Thrive. We have created the programme for women like you. We are waiting to welcome you in. And I promise you, when you start to embody a thriving lifestyle, you will never look back. It will be the biggest turning point and the best part of your evolution. Ladies, I will catch you all on the next episode of the Nickel Grain podcast. Go and have a fantastic afternoon, morning, evening, whenever you're listening to this, and I'll see you all on the next episode.